Welcome to the Bookshop at the End of the Internet. This podcast is dedicated to helping book lovers discover new authors. Like all the best bookshops, this podcast is filled with all kinds of books and all kinds of authors. So tune in, browse around, find a new author, and discover a new favorite book at the Bookshop at the End of the Internet. I'm Stacey Horan, author, book lover, and host of the Bookshop at the End of the Internet. This is episode number 257. For more information about this or any of our episodes, go to my website, staceyhoran.com. If you enjoy the podcast, leave us a review, like us on social media, and share us with your friends, family, and fellow readers. In today's episode of the Bookshop at the End of the Internet, I'm doing something a little different. This is part one of a two-part series featuring a number of authors. A couple of months ago, I had the honor and privilege of attending a working retreat of the First Coast romance writers. I presented a workshop featuring tips and tricks for performing well in interviews. And after the workshop, 9 of the authors in attendance sat down with me to record brief interviews for this podcast. All of the authors I met that day were wonderful. They are a warm, friendly, charming group of writers, and I had an amazing time meeting and chatting with them all. I also learned several important things from this group. 1, laughter is contagious, and this group likes to laugh a lot. 2, they are passionate about the stories they tell. And 3, all of them have their own individual take on the romance genre. In today's episode, I'm featuring 5 of these brief interviews. We'll discuss their books, and they'll share a little bit about their writing journeys, as well as a few other things. Coming up. My conversations with the First Coast romance writers feature authors at varying stages of their journeys. Some have written numerous books, and others are just getting started. But all of them were eager to share their stories with me. These interviews were recorded on site, so the sound is a little different than what you would normally hear in my studio recordings. First up is Maggie FitzRoy. Maggie was a guest on my podcast back in 2019. Check out episode number 43. Here is my conversation with Maggie. Maggie FitzRoy, thank you very much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
What we're going to do today is talk a little bit about your new book, Woe is Wednesday. It's a romantic mystery, number 3 in a new series that you have started.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Woe is Wednesday.
Okay. Well, it's about a female private eye in 1955 Philadelphia. Her name is Story Smith, and she's a rookie. She was a journalist, and this was a time when women were expected to just get married and have babies, stay home. And she was relegated to writing for the women's pages, and she has a brother who was a private eye, and he took her as undercover on one of his cases, and she fell in love with the career. So it's the summer of 1955, and she decides that she is going to go for it, and she got her license. And I'm writing a 7-book series about Story. The first book was Never on Monday. The second one is Tuesday Means Trouble, and this is Woe is Wednesday. They can all be read as standalones, or my hope is that you want to read it as a series. And if you do read Woe is Wednesday first, say, quick, get me the Monday and Tuesday books. I'm now in the process of writing Thrill Me Thursday. So I'm taking Story, it's a romantic mystery, because I'm taking her and her very handsome male competitor, experienced competitor, across the 7 books in their relationship. So in Woe is Wednesday, it's July, and she launched her business right after Memorial Day, and she is nursing an injured ankle from her previous case and some bruises. She took a week off to recover, and so part of her business, because she's a rookie, is that she needed a receptionist very part-time. So she gets to use the receptionist down the hall in exchange for the attorney who the receptionist works for. He's going to let her use Wendy, the receptionist's services, in exchange for doing him some private eye work whenever he needs it. So in Woe is Wednesday, he calls in his chips, and he has a very simple case for her that his wife has discovered that a necklace that means a great deal to her has gone missing, and this woman suspects that her cousin took it. So all Story needs to do is to go to this party that the cousin is throwing in Chestnut Hill, Philadelphia, a very expensive, exclusive area, and in this big mansion, and kind of just nose around and see if anybody's wearing it, or see if she can sneak away and find this necklace somewhere in the mansion. And it's supposed to be a very easy, kind of fun case. She needs to go undercover, so she decides to be a ditzy tennis player who has a sprained ankle because she went after a ball she shouldn't have gone for. Meanwhile, Story never played tennis, but she figures, well, she can fake it. And by the way, she's supposed to bring a date, so she decides to ask Steve Evans, her crush and her competitor, who's somehow got himself involved in her first two cases. And they are really hitting it off, but she's very, very leery of getting into a relationship with him. First of all, he's her competitor. And second of all, he's got a reputation as having gone through quite a few women and broken quite a few hearts. So she's determined to make it on her own. And so anyway, but she's got a major crush on him. So she has to have a date. So she asks him to go to this party. And he says, sure. I mean, he's already told her he's basically in love with her, but she figures he tells a lot of women that. So anyway, so they go to this party, and I had a lot of fun writing the party scene because with her pretending to be who she's not. My books, my why for writing the series is to bring the reader a fun, romantic, witty, suspenseful adventure. And so there's humor in it because she's trying to pretend to be a tennis player and knows nothing about tennis. And she's hoping that she can fake it. And Steve says he'll help her because he plays tennis. So anyway, there's humor there. What happens though is her nice, simple, easy case that she's not going to get paid for because it's a paid back for a favor turns bloody and deadly when one of the party guests ends up dead at the party. And so everything changes, and she ends up with a much, much bigger, more adventurous, more suspenseful case because she convinces Jonathan, the man she's working for, the attorney, to hire her to find out who murdered this woman.
Right.
So,
right.
Anyway.
Prior to this series,
yes.
You were writing mostly romance.
Yes.
So this is a little bit of a departure. It's falling back on something that you know and that you're good at, the romantic aspect of it. But tackling a mystery, easy or difficult for you? And what surprised you about doing it?
Well, my first three books, you're right, were historical romance and standalone historical romance because I'm really into history. But I really like mysteries and I really like suspense. I like romantic suspense, but I wanted to take the characters across several books and not have them have their happily ever after at the end of book one. I like the romantic tension, the sexual tension, keep it going, get me the next book. Sort of like the Castle TV show that I really, really liked when it was on. And so anyway, I thought, well, I've got to write mystery. And I'm the kind of person that's always taking on a new challenge. And so I knew it was going to be more difficult. I knew, I didn't have any illusions. So I basically got a lot of books on how to write mystery and studied it. And that's what I'm doing now. And I really like mystery. I like suspense. And my what got me started as a reader early in life was Nancy Drew. And I always wanted to create my own female private eye.
Oh. So this ticks a lot of boxes for you then. It's got romance. There's a bit of history in it. You've said it in 1955.
Because I didn't want DNA evidence. I didn't want video. I didn't want cell phone records. It's boots on the ground.
Right.
Throw yourself into it. Right. Adventure.
So, and then mystery and suspense, it provides you with the challenge. You've created your own female PI. You've got it as a series, no happy ever after just the first book.
There's a lot of hope after it, and there continues to be. Yeah.
Which is good, which is what will keep us reading.
Right.
So it sounds like you're having fun. Do you think you found a new place to...
I'm having a lot of fun. It's great fun. Yes. And it's first person because it's her, like a lot of detective stories. I love reading those, like Stephanie Plum, and just a lot of the detectives writing, it's their voice. It's more intimate. And at first I worried about that because my first 3 books were third person. So I took a course that was on point of view and discovered, I can write first person, and I really like it a lot. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So you've learned a lot just from this series. Think you'll keep it up after the 7 books? Do you think you'll tackle more mysteries, or will it be moving on to something?
Well, that's an interesting question, because my first book, Mercy's Way, the first historical romance, set in the Oregon Trail in 1845. And I had to research the Oregon Trail for 6 months, because everything in that book with the Oregon Trail is as true as I can make it. The characters are fictional, but it's actually my best-selling book to date. Oh. People love the Oregon Trail, and I inadvertently wrote a mail-order bride story. I didn't know. I took this woman across the continent, committed to marrying a man in Oregon, and she falls in love with the trail guide, and he with her. So people have been asking me to write, keep the series going, and I said I can't just keep one mail-order bride after another crossing the continent. So I'm planning on taking one of the characters and having her go from Oregon down to California at the gold rush.
Oh, interesting.
And so I'm now in the process, but it's got to be suspense, and I think it's going to be a 3-book series.
Okay. Exciting. Okay, so you'll be busy. If people want to keep up to date with you and all you have going on and learn more about you, buy your books, where can they go to do all of that?
Okay, my website is MaggieFitzRoy.com, basically my name, MaggieFitzRoy.com. And my books are available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and a lot of other places. They are in some bookstores, but they are on as ebooks and in print on Amazon.
Good. Well, thanks for chatting with me, Maggie, and I wish you luck with Woe is Wednesday and the rest of your writing journey.
All right, thank you.
Next up is my conversation with LaTisha Redding. As you'll hear, romance writers don't just write about romance. In LaTisha's case, she tackles some big themes in her young adult stories. LaTisha Redding, thank you very much for chatting with me today on the podcast.
Thank you.
What we're going to do today is talk about your new YA novel, In the Shadow of the Dead Woods. Tell us a little bit about this book.
Okay, well, this is my first YA book. And it is set in a post-apocalyptic world with a 15-year-old girl who lives in an intentional society called the Sisterhood. And her family break the rules of the Sisterhood. And the main rule is there cannot be any males in that community over the age of 5. And she has a little brother that's 7. And the family's pretending that he's like 5. But the Sisterhood finds out and they cast them out into the Dead Woods. And the Dead Woods is filled with like feral males, right? Nothing that any woman or girl wants to be around.
Right.
So this 15-year-old girl named Hayes has to figure out how to find another community for her and her mom and her grandma and her other female relatives to live in.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like in this rather hostile environment, no community she has found so far has been good or at least healthy. There has been some significant harm in being a member of either of these communities.
Correct.
Right? If not for herself, for people she loves.
Right.
So how do you find in that kind of environment, in this post-apocalyptic world, how do you find community that's healthy and safe and welcoming?
That's a good question. That is a good question. That's like the setup of the book. And the community, in a way, actually finds her when she's out with her cousin and with her little brother. The community of men actually find her. And so a large part of the book is Hayes' struggle with this new community of these men. And she's not used to being around men because she grew up with nothing but women. So she's in this new society with these men. And I don't have to tell you that a young girl raised without a father in a society full of men, she's going to have problems. And of course, also, there's going to be younger men in the society that she's going to meet. She's not used to boys. She's not used to any of that. So everything is new for her.
Right.
And that's where all the conflict is.
Right. Right. It's like landing on an entirely new planet, really.
It is. Because last year, like 2024, there was a question flaming the internet about a woman, she's in the woods by herself. Would the woman choose a man or a bear if she met either one of them in the woods? And a lot of women were saying, hey, we're going to take the bear, right? So this, in some ways, this story, not like it's like that, but it's that background of what would this woman do? What would this young girl do when she meets this type of community? What is she actually going to do?
Right.
Is she going to choose the bear in the end, or is she going to choose the community with the men?
Yeah. Yeah. When you came up for the idea for this book, was it clear that your main character needed to be a teenager? I mean, was there ever an idea that I could make this for adults, or maybe I should make her younger? Was it always she needs to be around 15? That's the age.
Yeah, around 14 or 15. Yeah, because that's the age where girls are not so much that they're discovering boys, because boys have been around them. They've been to school with their brothers, uncles, that type of stuff. Right. But really, like starting to become aware of your own womanhood at that point. Your body is changing. Your hormones are racing, like all of these things happening. So what is that like when at first there's no males around, and now all of a sudden you're in an environment where there's nothing but males around? What's going to happen? Right. What will she actually do? And then also, how will she protect herself? Because not all of those males are going to be good, and also all the things that the sisterhood has been teaching her all of these years about men. Now she has to discover for herself, is what they told me true? Or is it what they told me based on their own experiences or based on the world past? Because remember, this is post-apocalyptic. Right. So do any of these rules or beliefs, are they still valid for her? Right. And that's her question.
And what a hard age to have to confront this. This would be difficult for anyone, right, at any age. Yeah. But to do it at that time when you mentioned you were just starting to find yourself and who you are, not as a child anymore, but as someone who's just going to be expected to stand on her own and ultimately make her own decisions. This is sort of forced upon you.
Right.
What stress and pressure.
Yeah. And then she's got her mom there too. And her mom and her grandma have these also different perspectives because they lived in the world prior to this war that had happened that decimated the planet. So everyone has this different worldview, but hers is the actual newest worldview, and she just doesn't know what to do with all of that. And, does she believe her mom? Does she believe her grandma? Yeah. Does she believe the sisterhood? Does she believe the men in the society? Like, who is she going to believe? Who is she going to trust?
Yeah. How easy or difficult was it getting into the mindset of your main character? I mean, because you're throwing things at her as you're writing this. I mean, you were putting her in all kinds of precarious situations. How easy or difficult was it to stop and say, okay, it seems obvious she would say this, or she should probably do this?
Well, one of the things, first I had to remember back when I was like a 14-year-old girl, and just discovering things for myself and like all of us, coming into my own understanding how the world actually works. And it's not necessarily how the culture tells you. It may not be how what your parents told you, your school, anything. So you just have to discover all of this for yourself and say, is this true? And is it true for me? It may be true for somebody else, but it's not necessarily true for me. It won't be my experience. And that's one of her biggest questions throughout the story.
Yeah.
And her entire survival actually depends on this because of the world that she lives in.
Right.
She can't be on her own. Yeah, she can't be on her own. She can't, no pressure. I can't live on my own. I can't live in the dead woods by myself. I don't want to be alone.
Figure this out.
Right.
So this is, as you mentioned, this is your first YA. And
yes.
It's the first book in a duology.
Correct.
It's a little bit of a departure for you in that it's your first YA story.
It is. It is.
Do you think this is something you will do more of? Do you like this age group?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I actually have, so the second novel, the duology, is going to come out. It should be out sometime in October, and that's called Beyond the Dead Woods. That's the title of the second one. But also, percolating in the background, I've already been writing another post-apocalyptic story, but this main character will be a boy. And I'm still working on that one and working on the details of that one. But yeah, I definitely like the post-apocalyptic world because it gives me the chance to explore questions, compelling questions that people have, not just why am I here, but why are things happening the way they are? And what can I do to survive the way the world actually is, not the way it was in the past when my parents, and a lot of kids are grappling with that today. Yeah. Like how do they survive in this new world? Because it's not what their parents or their aunts or their uncles had. Right. Things are different. The internet, all of these things, social media is just so different. Now we have AI. So they're living in a totally new world than what we grew up in. And how are they going to navigate that?
Right. If you choose to read things, pull a book from the shelf, or select a movie or a TV show, do you tend to go for these kinds of stories, or do you find your own personal taste net goes somewhere else, but writing this is what interests you?
Well, I mean, I was like a lot of people. I was a fan of The Walking Dead. I loved that TV show. I absolutely was just addicted to watching that TV show every single week. So, it just depends for me. My taste can vary. It runs from one thing to another. I can watch as long as it's a good story.
Yes.
I'm looking for a good story, well told.
Yes.
That is what draws me in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well done. So since you are busy and you have the second book in the series,
yes,
soon to come out, and more stories that you're working on the way.
Yes.
If people want to keep track, learn more about you, your books, look for new releases, that sort of thing, buy the books when they're out, where should they go to find that information?
Well, first stop, they can go to Amazon and just, type in the title, In the Shadow of the Dead Woods, and then Beyond the Dead Woods. Or of course they can just type in my name, LaTisha Redding, and they should pull my books up on Amazon.
Wonderful. Well, LaTisha, thank you so much for chatting with me
Thank you.
on the podcast. And I want to wish you luck with the duology, In the Shadow of the Dead Woods, as you mentioned, and Beyond the Dead Woods, coming out next. And congratulations on everything you've accomplished. Best of luck with the rest of the writing journey.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
My next conversation is with Lynn Westhoff, a debut author who isn't content to start with just one book. No, Lynn is tackling a fantasy paranormal romance trilogy, and she is more than up to the challenge. Lynn Westhoff, thank you for chatting with me on the podcast today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
We're going to talk about your debut novel, Chronicles of a Time-Bound Warrior. Please tell me more about this book.
So this book is a fantasy paranormal romance. Basically, Anwen is a paladin warrior in an elven world, and their world is medieval, but she actually gets trapped in a time portal, which sends her to Mid-Earth realm during the Inquisition. Yes, so there is magic on her world still. So she does have a warhorse and she has a hawk, which she considers her best friends. And the horse actually shapeshifts into a dragon. He's one of a kind. She's riding the horse and the hawk's with her when she gets sucked through the time portal. She ends up in this medieval world that she doesn't know anybody. She doesn't know what's going on. So she runs across a male paladin knight, and his name's Ashton. And he basically interviews her to see if she's dangerous or not, and then provides her a place to stay at his castle for a few days while he tries to figure out who she really is. So they hit it off, but she's not trusting of anyone. And so they end up becoming romantically involved as time goes by. Mm-hmm. They're both paladins, both knights, but what he sees in her is a strong female. And in his world at this point in time, the women are regulated to being behind the men totally. And here's a warrior, a female, and she has some weird kind of powers, but he does too, that he doesn't. He knows why, but nobody else really does. And it turns out to be he's half elf, half human on his mother's side. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that as well. But all in all, there's also a very mean pope who has learned about her and has also heard that she may have a dragon. And he's very excited because he does believe in the occult and all these other things. And he figures if I can get my hands on her, and I can get my hands on her dragon, there is nobody in this world that can stop me. And already the Catholic Church was trying to basically take over many countries. They're still based in Rome. So he sends some assassins, Jesuit soldiers, to steal her, kidnap her, and bring him back to Rome, which unfortunately he does manage to do. In the meantime, the King of France, who's really in with the Pope, is very excited as well because they could plunder the riches, they could take over the world basically. And so he also is supporting this. In the meantime, the Pope, who has her in captivity, has to torture her to try to get her dragon to come forward. The problem is she doesn't even know she has a dragon. She's never manifested into one. And in her world, some of their elves can actually shapeshift and some can't. The DNA just didn't pass. So here she is being tortured. She keeps telling, what's wrong with you? I am not going to change into a dragon. You are crazy. She's not going to tell him that her horse Finn is actually the one who can change into a dragon. So she's enduring the torture. She's almost to the point of dying. And suddenly scales come up on her hands, on the side of her face. And she's literally drowning. They have her head in a barrel and she's sucking water in. And all of a sudden she hears this voice that says, relax, it's okay. And so breathe. She's like, I have lost it. I'm dying.
Which is what anybody's reaction would be. Yeah.
I lost it. And sure enough, because she has to take the water in, she has to breathe. She does, but now she's not struggling for air. And she's like, what is going on? And she can breathe underwater. So she's like, what is happening? The voice again, as a female, comes into her mind and said, it's okay, I'm here to help you. So they pull her out of the water and they obviously see the scales on the side of her face and on her hands, and Pope's getting excited because it's happening. And she still doesn't understand it. And so he continues to torture, nothing happens, takes her back to the cell. So he continues to try to break her. In the meantime, Ashton's livid, has lost his mind. Finn and her hawk mind speak with her, but they can't because of the distance. Mm. So they're all trying to get to her. Well, in the meantime, he knows that there's an army with the Pope and there is an army with the King of France. How in the heck are they going to get her out of there? And he says, we have to put down this Inquisition. This is the injustice, the greed, everything they're doing is horrible. We have to stand up for paladins. We stand for what's right. We've got to fight this somehow. He knows now that she has soldiers over in Eldora in her realm. He can actually time travel because his mother was half elf. So if he can get her and get her back to her realm and talk them into bringing soldiers over, then he has the Knight Templars that they've also contacted that will send their soldiers to help and build an army along with his soldiers to fight against the Pope and the King of France. But they've got to get her out of there first. Mm. So there is a big scene to help her escape, then get her back to Eldora. And he decides to stay and go get the Knights Templars while she gets her soldiers and comes back. Problem is, her father is there, and he doesn't want her to go back.
Mm.
And he doesn't want to give her the soldiers. At first he tells her he will, but then he betrays her. And her soldiers turn on her. And so now she has to get back there because she feels it is her duty, as well as she loves Ashton. And there's a scene that I don't want to tell everybody about, but it's a good fight scene. She gets back, and then she travels to meet where the rest of the army is at. There is a final big battle against the Pope of France, and then the army that they have made and arised. And it's a good scene. That's a lot of action, and it carries into the next book and the next book.
Yeah, we should mention that this is just book one of a trilogy.
Yes.
So that's a lot of ground to cover in just one book.
It's very fast paced and action paced.
Yeah.
So it's a wild ride. It's a lot
of
fun.
It's almost an epic fantasy.
Yeah, epic adventure.
Wow.
A lot of fun.
That was no small task, I'm sure, to wrestle that into a story.
It was fun. Did it in a month. I'm retired, so I'm able to do this full time.
Wow.
And it, as you know, as a writer, sometimes you get in a zone and things just really happen and come, and it was very easy once you got, kind of the way you wanted your story to go.
Yeah, yeah. Did you do a lot of preparation before you started writing, world building or research or whatever? Or did you just
I did
dive in?
Research from the standpoint of the Roman Catholic Church, the Inquisition, along with the King of France, changed a few of their names a little bit, but took real history from what happened that time and how many women had been killed during the Inquisition as well. But also a little bit about the geography, but really world building. I know it's very big in fantasy, but one of the things that my book is very different about, I don't want to do the same thing. I don't want my elves to have to always be this way. I don't want my worlds to have every rock and every tree described. So I like fast-paced action where it carries the story chapter to chapter. So my elf has certain qualities, but then she also has different ones. So she doesn't always fit the lore. You can't put them in that box, but there's bits and pieces that I make my own and make different. So I don't follow any real trope. I don't follow any particular lore. So some may like that, some may not, but I enjoy the reading about things like that anyway, so I enjoy writing it as well.
Okay.
So it'd be a little different than what people think.
Yeah. Now, were you a fantasy fan?
I like it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't want to do the same thing over and over and over. I kind of want to blend.
Yeah.
Blend as many different genres in that don't drift too far to take away from the story you're reading.
Right.
But you won't follow the same old storybook. It's different.
Right. Right. More of a thriller or suspense pace.
Yes.
To your fantasy.
Exactly. It's not going to follow the same steps that everyone is taught to do when they write this way.
Goodness. So you've got quite a challenge ahead then to write book 2 and book 3 and wrap this story up
There's
by
actually
then.
going to be book 4 as
Is
well.
there really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We'll have a vampire. He actually comes out in book 3, and then he goes back to his realm, and they go to help him with their team. So he's in a realm of vampires and orcs.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a lot of different paranormal.
So you could take this. You could live. You could reside here for a while.
Yes, realm to realm, different worlds, different paranormals, different situations that are causing problems. And my vision is her team is the team that's able to go in and help right the wrongs, fight against the injustice, the greed, or whatever is causing the dysfunction of that world.
Right. Right. Very good. Well, people will definitely want to then keep track of you and which realm you're in and which book is out. So where can they do that and buy the books?
Sure. I'm on all social media. They can go to my website at Lynn Westhoff, LynnWesthoff.com. And that will take them directly to Amazon, where they can purchase either ebook, paperback, or hard copy. And the audiobook hopefully will be out the end of October. And I'm on LS Westhoff Author on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, Lynn, thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank
And I
you.
wish you luck with Chronicles of a Time-Bound Warrior
Thank you.
and the trilogy and the rest of your writing journey.
Thank you so much.
Another debut author I spoke with that day is also hard at work on a trilogy. Marie Morton, however, is tackling the sports romance genre, and she is doing so with a trio of cousins from the Caribbean. Marie Morton, thank you for chatting with me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
What we're going to do today is talk about your debut novel, Maya's Dream, sports romance.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about this book.
Well, this is the first of a trilogy. It's about 3 cousins from the Caribbean. I'm from the Caribbean. They always say write about what you know, right? And it's a little different. It's a romance, sport romance book. And 3 cousins from St. Croix, the Virgin Islands. And they're going to try their hand at tennis. So there's Maya, the main character. She's 24. She graduated from Stanford with her graduate degree. And her cousin, Nikki, who's 19, rambunctious, played tennis all of her life so far, but not one for college. And so she spoke with her, convinced her, let's try our hands at the circuit. You know, they've been playing. And so Maya, who's 24, and basically, you know, with tennis, she's basically almost middle-aged, right? So she's like, let's do it. And she's been saving money. They've actually been doing the circuit. And so they've been pretty good. So now they're going to try the challenge, you know, and try to get into some of the major tennis tournaments. And their older cousin, Alyssa, who is back home in St. Croix, she's a professor at the University of the Virgin Islands. She's been scheduling their tours. She's going to take a sabbatical, and she's going to come with them and schedule and make sure that they have their little uniforms. They don't have a sponsor. They've just been going like to, you know, Target, you know, getting some cute little outfits.
Right.
But now they're going to take it serious. And but along the way, they have to, you know, get over some challenges personally. How are they going to interact throughout this tour? Maya, the main character, she's in a relationship. It's been long distance for 5 years. Her guy is ready to take it serious, but she's not. She's dealing with a lot of things from childhood. Her dad died when she was small, and she has issues with, you know, getting close to someone. And so she's probably using this tour to kind of keep the distance a little bit in that relationship as well. And so we're going to go through some of the trials and, you know, tribulations that come with doing a tour, and also trying to, you know, personally just get through that spot as well.
Right, right. So I imagine being on a tennis tour, something that's fairly stressful, with your relatives makes for some interesting situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with, like I said, Nikki, who Maya is her character. She's in control. She plans her day. She's planned her life a little bit. So this has taken her off of what she has planned to do. She's worked in the world of finance. So this is not something that she had initially wanted to put into her career goal. So she's doing this in a way for her younger cousin. Nikki is kind of, okay, she is more, what's a good way to say it? She's more rambunctious, you know. She kind of say, hey, let's go with the flow. That's her mentality. But she's very talented. She's a natural talent. And so Maya, the rest of the family said, you know what? Let's give her a shot. And Maya is somebody that can probably control her and help her to mold her into where she can reach her full potential. And so let's see if she can control her. And let's see if Alyssa, who is a little bit older, she's 30, let's see if she can rein them in as well. So we're going to see the dynamics, you know, as they go through this stressful and also, you know, being their different heritage, you know, in tennis, it's a different demographic. And so they have to kind of deal with that as well, you know, on the scene of the tennis world.
Right.
Well, so.
Right. Mm-hmm. So what was it about this story that intrigued you? Because obviously you have to spend a lot of time with any story. So it really has to resonate with you personally. What, as you were developing it, what struck a chord with you?
I think all 3 things. in terms of the romance, I'm always just intrigued with someone finding their person, and just going through the challenges of, who is that person going to be, and how do you get through, the who and the whys, and is this going to work to get to the end, and is it going to be an end? Is it going to be a positive? And then also, coming from the Caribbean, how do you go through, those challenges to be successful in life? Sometimes you're coming from areas that are not as economically sound, right? And so, and then the sports world, I love sports, I love tennis, and so I wanted to see how we could combine that and bring it together. And I thought it'd be a nice twist. And it's a story that I would like to read. And so I thought that maybe perhaps, I can bring it out to other folks that maybe have an interest as well.
Right. Now, do you play tennis yourself? Was this something you knew?
I'm not a pro, but I live my life. I love, for like Memorial Weekend, that's like the French Open. And then we head into July, and that's like Wimbledon, 4th of July. And then we just had Labor Day weekend, and, that's the US Open. And so that's how I kind of gauge the quarters of the year, so now we're kind of in hiatus until we get to, January, and then we get into Australia Open. So,
right.
So those are the big, the highlights, milestones of the year. So I'm into that. So now I'm into the football season. So I'm a sports fan. But I just thought that'd be just a nice twist, just to see how people live, and then bring about just the Caribbean aspect of it as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you said this is going to be the first in a 3 series. Do you already have books 2 and 3 mapped out? Do you know what's going to happen in those books?
The second one will be with Nikki, and I kind of have an idea with that as well, where she's going to have to now, I guess, what's the word? She's going to have to mature a little bit and become center stage, and kind of take, Maya's going to step back, and she's going to have to see how she can do this on her own a little bit. Let's say that. And then the third one is going to be with Alyssa, and she's going to face some challenges of her own, where she's kind of taking care of the other two and been like a mother hen. Yeah. Now she's going to have to learn how to live her own life. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And see what her identity is. Okay. Yeah. Without the two.
So once the third book is done, do you have plans for after that, or is that all you can think about right now is books 1, 2, and 3?
There's one other book. It's not pertaining to this, but there's another book that has been inside of me, and it's totally different. Oh, okay. Yes, it's a totally different thing. I don't know if I should talk about it, but it's another romance, but it's more historical. Oh, okay. And it's going to go back into the 1800s, but it's something that I think I dreamt about, and it's kind of, I want to bring it out, and I want to get this over with, and then I'm going to get into it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that sounds like you're going to be very, very busy for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're enjoying it? This is your debut.
It's my debut. And I just want to get this first book, I think, out. Yes. And then I can just go with it.
Okay. And we should tell people the plan is that this will be released early 2026.
Yes. Yes. It's going to be 2026. And Amazon, I have a website, www, of course, literaryindulgence.com. It's where I have I have a book festival I do sometimes each year, and a little book nook for other readers like myself, book lovers, where you can go and see some interesting stuff other than my books. So
you have a lot going on.
Yeah. I love books. So
all things books all the time.
Books. Yes. I love the creative aspects of books.
Good. Mm-hmm. Good. Do you have other goals? I mean, I know you have ideas for these books, but are there other goals, things you want to tackle, things you want to try as a writer?
Well, that's the one thing. The first thing was just to get my book out and printed. But this past year, I've been exploring, I joined writing groups. I put together this site. I had the annual book festival that I put together. I'm going to have other events. I've been thinking of hosting some other authors locally here in Jacksonville, just to highlight their work. And I just want to see where it takes me. So it's just been a kind of a self-exploration.
Yeah.
And so I want to see where it leads me. I don't know where. I'm just kind of following the journey. And who knows?
Right.
But I'm excited to see it. I've been kind of doing like a 9-to-5 job. And so now this past, I would say 2 years, I say I want to do my writing. I want to do the literary journey, and who knows where it'll take me. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah. Well, Maria, I want to thank you for chatting with me today, and I want to wish you luck on this writing journey of yours.
Thank you, Stacey.
The final conversation of this Part 1 episode is with Ann Wright. Similar to Lynn and Marie, Ann is a debut author who is at the beginning of her writing journey and is hard at work on her first manuscript. Ann Wright, thank you very much for chatting with me today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to do something, you and I are going to do something a little bit different than I do with every other guest. The guests on my show usually have a book out or about to come out. You are in the unique position of currently writing your first novel,
Yes.
your debut novel.
Yes.
So your perspective is going to be a little bit different from every other guest I've had on the show. Congratulations and no pressure.
Thank you. Congratulate me when I get it published.
So the novel you're working on, you said the title is With Impunity.
Yes.
Can you, and I understand it's a work in progress, but can you tell us a little bit about the book?
The book begins with a woman getting shot, and the shooter is yelling at her, "I will always hate you." And then the subsequent chapters take you back in time and build the story up back to that point.
So a literal shots rang out.
Yes. Shots ring out.
Excellent. And so this is a book that basically starts at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Was that always the plan?
Yes.
It was always the plan.
Mm-hmm.
How do you create, and do you outline? Are you someone who plans it all out before you sit down and write, or are you a pantser? I had an idea and then I just go and see where it leads me.
It's very much idea driven, but the outline is very bare bones outline just to keep me in check.
Right.
But the ideas are built within.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So how do you keep track when what you're writing first is almost the ending,
mm-hmm.
and then you have to make sure your second beginning, then where you start
mm-hmm.
the original part of the story. How do you make sure you line up? Is it a case of constantly checking in to see, am I on the right track? Am I going to hit that point in the future where I need to be? Have I veered too far off? Is it always going back to the outline? Is it just a gut check? I know, I feel like I'm veering too far. Maybe I'm not going to hit it there. Maybe it's not going to be right.
There is a very clear vision right from the start. I began with the end in mind, literally and figuratively. So the whole plot is a hard plot. There is no deviation. It's really just building all the narrative and the characters around it so that I insert enough doubt and innuendo within the story to keep you off of the main line, which has never wavered.
Because we know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when we start at the beginning of the story, we think we know what happens because you just told us what happens. So the whole, that adds to the tension, I imagine, is trying to keep that up. The reader's going to think they know what happens. I've got to.
But do you?
Right.
I mean, shots ring out.
Right.
Then what happens?
Right.
That's where the beginning ends.
Yeah. When you came up for the idea for this book, were there other examples of this that you drew from? Did you have in mind, like, are you a fan of sort of the film noir or the detective story or any other particular genre? And you thought, okay, this idea that I have in my mind would work well in this kind of a story.
Yes. Now I have been working on this idea for a long time, but the book and movie Where the Crawdads Sing is very much like my story. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily in the same story, but in the same telling of the story, where it is less about the murder mystery part of it as it is about the story that happens within the context of what happened.
Because it's almost as if the shooting, the exciting bit that you learn at the beginning is not necessarily the most interesting part of the story.
Yes.
The most interesting part is learning how these characters
got to that point.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When you go to start writing your character, start writing the story, how do you structure your characters? Are you one of the authors who the characters are just there in your head and you know them? Or do you build them? Either I need my character to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I need him or her to look a certain way or have a certain talent, or are these characters that you just see clearly somewhere in your head or wherever? How do they take shape for you?
Well, I will tell you the story very much draws off of life and personal experience. So the characters already have shape. And the storyline, although it's fictional in and of itself, comes from real life experience and real life people that I have morphed into a fictionalized version of themselves. So the trick for me is to bring those characteristics alive on the page, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like living, breathing people. And I've changed them around somewhat to fit the narrative of the story, but then to translate all of that onto the page in a real workable way. Because my book is a study of relationships and what happens in the undercurrent that you don't see, that the public doesn't see. But there's a whole swarming multitude of currents that happen in people's lives that is not visible to the outside world. And sometimes what's happening can lead to devastating, horrible consequences.
When you're writing this book, do you find yourself finding comfort in it or finding answers to questions that you have in it? Or do you find that by writing it, you're creating even more questions or becoming maybe even more curious about more things about the people or the situations in real life? I'm always interested when people base stories on either personal experiences or people they know or real life situations. Do they find resolution at the end, or does it raise more questions for them, leave them more curious than when they first started?
I don't know that that's an answerable question at this point, because I'm still living my life and, God willing, there is no end to it just yet, but some things that are unresolved, who knows if there will be resolution. So I guess you could say it's fair that writing this book is part therapy. And as I've had to learn dynamics in psychology and relations with people, I've learned a lot in the process. I've spent my life thinking about some of these things. So it is both a learning process, but it's also cathartic. It's therapeutic in a sense too.
Is writing this book what you thought it would be? Is the process of writing it exactly the way you thought it would go? Or have you been surprised by either what it takes or what you're good at or what you find challenging? How has the process of writing this first novel been for you?
That's kind of a combined answer for me, because I have been a writer in my heart, I think, almost all my life, in terms of seeing and interpreting the world in a very descriptive, creative way. I've known from early in life that I see the world sometimes differently than other people. And so I think I've always known I was a writer at heart. The process part has been a little surprising in that I tend to get a little overwhelmed at time by the words. I find that I have to take short breaks from it and come back to it so I can see it with clarity. I will become overwhelmed by the weight of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But I guess as with any writer, you have to keep plugging on.
Yeah. Do you have goals beyond this first book? Are you someone who keeps a list of all the story ideas as they come to you? Or do you just know that, there's going to be a constant flow of bright, shiny ideas, and I'll tackle the next one when this one's done.
Well, there is a second part to this book once this one is done.
Okay.
There is a second to follow, possibly a prequel to follow before that, depending on how things go with the story, and my ability to continue writing it.
Yeah. Well, it sounds very exciting. I'm very excited for you that you're at this stage in your writing journey.
Thank you.
And I wish you luck with Impunity.
Thank you.
And the rest of the books that you'll write for this series. And congratulations on everything so far. Best of luck with the rest of your writing journey.
Stacey, I appreciate the time.
I want to thank all of my guests featured on this episode: Maggie FitzRoy, LaTisha Redding, Lynn Westhoff, Marie Morton, and Ann Wright. Please check out their books, their websites, and their social media accounts. Reach out and engage with them, and leave reviews if you enjoy their stories. Tune in next week for part 2, which will feature interviews with more amazing authors from the First Coast romance writers. I look forward to sharing those conversations with you. As always, thank you for listening, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Bookshop at the End of the Internet to discover new authors and new books. The Bookshop at the End of the Internet is a podcast dedicated to helping book lovers discover new authors. Like any good bookshop, this podcast features a wide variety of books by the equally varied and interesting authors who felt compelled to write them. This podcast gives you a chance to meet these wonderful writers and discover your next must-read book. Listen to the authors describe their books and tell you their stories in their own words. My interviews feature books from all genres and authors from all walks of life, including those who are indie published as well as those published by small presses and large publishing houses. Looking for unique, not so easy to find books for yourself, a friend, or a book club? Tune into this podcast and find your newest favorite author or maybe a soon-to-be bestseller. This podcast, like all the best bookshops, is filled with all kinds of books and all kinds of authors. Tune in, browse around, find a new author, and discover a new favorite book. You never know what treasures you might find in the Bookshop at the End of the Internet.